Hello my fish head friends, Joe here, just giving you an update on the 75 gallon. Not a whole lot has happened with the fish since my last update when I got this tank set up. Pretty much everybody's the same. I did have the OB in the 10 gallon healing up. He got beat up by my VC10. I put him back in when he was looking pretty good, and he instantly got his butt kicked again. So I took out the VC10 and put him in the 10 gallon, and there's a ton of algae on this tank. This time of year, the sunlight from a patio door hits these tanks pretty solid, so I just gotta get in there and do a good cleaning. I'm hoping to do that tonight. But he's actually looking super good in this tank. I bought some bulb plants and threw those in. There's a aquarium onion and a dwarf aquarium lily, and then I think some Aponjigitans. They haven't really sprouted, but yeah, they're doing fine. The VC keeps chewing on them and beating them up, which kind of figured. I put the bulbs in before I put him in. Kind of, it's one of those things, kind of jumped the gun. Otherwise, fish are looking good. With the VC out of there, the OB is now the tank boss. Aggression is fine. It's still there, but it's moderate. I was pretty excited the other day. My female right there was holding again. Kind of looks like she still might be, maybe not. But what's really exciting about that is all these little babies that are swimming around were, as much as I can figure, were fathered by the VC10, but he's been in the other tank for 2 or 3 weeks, so I gotta assume that probably the OB is the new father to the next batch, if she's still holding. And so I'm contemplating getting out the breeder box and keeping these fry as well, because I love OBs, and a new dad, different fish, see what they look like. There's not really many options for males in here. There's that OB. I do have a smaller OB that looks probably is a male, got nice color, and then this albino red zebra. That's it for males. And then I have a female VC right there. So that's it. So I'm assuming that this is the father to the next generation, which will be super cool. I love OBs, and so I might get out the breeder box and see what happens. With the fry I have, when I got the breeder box, I never actually intended to keep any of the babies, but I just couldn't resist, and I don't think I can resist again. Babies are doing good. They're getting pretty big. They're starting to get closer to the size of the female. I do have some tiny ones in there. It's just weird how some are tiny and some are getting nice and big. No real color yet, which is fine. They're fairly small still, but under the right light, I got this giant plant in here to break up with some. There's like a line of sight break to help with aggression, kind of shades them out. But looking at the dorsal fins, you can see like an orange blaze on top, like right at the tips, and then some white kind of like on this guy. So I mean, they're just looking cool. Every now and then you see a little blue, like a little haze of blue on their sides, but could just be enhanced by the blue lights on the light. You can kind of see reflecting. Yeah, so that's what's happening there. When I set this tank up, I put on the 3 Aqueon filters that I had on my 40 gallon. When I put those on the 40 gallon, that was like 2-3 years ago. I did that to get them cycled and ready for this tank. I just thought it would happen a lot sooner than it did. And as soon as I got them on, well, instantly one of them didn't fit. So it was just an Aqueon 50 hang on back. Wasn't too surprised that didn't fit. That was actually the one originally on the 40. But then I had 2 Aqueon 5575s which were specifically for this tank. I got them on, and like a week or so later, one started making noise. It wouldn't start when I plugged it back in after water changes, all that. Then it finally just conked out. So I set up a water bottle filter with a power head. I used to have one in the 40 gallon I really like. I just set it up so it's like a surface skimmer, does a great job. I was really happy with it. Then that one conked out because this may have been like a 10-year-old power head. So I put in the sponge filter, and then the other Aqueon started making noise. So I'm like, yep, screw that, time for a new one. So I definitely upgraded, and I got a Sun 704B, which I think is like the latest and greatest from Sun. It is super quiet. I read a bunch of reviews. I've been watching the 304 and the 404 for years, kind of waiting for the right time, and you know, the new thing came out, so I'm like, all right, time to go with that. You know, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. It comes pretty highly recommended. I think Aquanuts have one. Jay Wilson runs them. I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head, but there's a bunch of videos on the setup and quality and just reviews. Quality, you know, it has cheap plastic for the like intake and the output. The clamps that hold the top to the actual canister, kind of chintzy, but you know, the main thing I worry about is those clamps, and then there's a quick release shutoff valve for the hoses in and out. Those are the ones you gotta be careful with, and as long as you keep even pressure when you open and shut them and just pay attention and be gentle, you should have no problem. And the cheap plastic on the intake and the spray bar, it's not a big deal. I mean, you set it up and you don't really ever touch it, so I'm not worried about that. A lot of people mention problems priming it. You just gotta fill the canister all the way up and prime it a little bit. I had a little bit of a problem. I didn't have quite enough water in the canister, so I put more water in, kind of filled it up to the point of when I put the top on, it kind of overflowed out. Then you just gotta pump it a few times, and it was pretty much good to go. No real issue there. Had a few leaks out of one of the connections, but that was just, I had to crank the compression fitting a little bit more. That was actually something else, the compression fittings with the cheaper plastic. You know, just be careful, run the hose under hot water so it's more flexible, and just be careful, you're fine. I had just a few drips coming out of it, so I gave it another little crank, and it was no big deal. It was like 120 bucks. When it came out, it was cheaper, but you know, Amazon prices change like that, so you know, if this thing lasts me a bunch of years, I'm good with that price. It's super quiet. Now that I have those Aqueons out of here, which were, you don't realize how loud they are until they're gone. They were so loud. Now I just hear the bubbles popping at the surface from the tanks, and that's it. The Sun is just super quiet. So everything is good. I love the new filter. It's great water quality now, super clear. I have the intake down here with, let's see if we can see it. I have a coarse sponge filter on the end of it, and then on the inside of the canister, I don't have any filter, any polishing pads or anything like that. I like Corey from Aquarium Co-op, his idea for canister filters is catch all the, you know, use the intake sponge and just stuff it full of you know, media for bacteria. So that's basically what I did. I got a bunch of pot scrubbers in there and some Purigen, some Chemi-Pure. I am gonna tweak it as I go. This was just used what I had, got it stuffed full. I'm gonna add little bits here and there, and I'll keep you guys updated on that. And then for the output, I have up here, instead of putting on the back wall, I put on the side wall, so it just continues to flow this way, pushes everything toward the sponge filter here, and then the intake back here. I have 3 spray bar sections on there. One is pointing kind of downward, and the other 2 are pointing at the surface. Plenty of surface agitation. Water's looking great. I have very few little micro bubbles, which was a pretty big problem with the aqueons. So yeah, I'm super happy with it now, and we'll take a few seconds to watch the fish, and I'll keep you guys updated as I change stuff, and maybe I'll strip the female eventually and see what happens with those babies. Alright guys, have a good one.